Welcome to the first episode in a new series called Life Lessons from the Headlines, Thanks to the Stars. Now, this video in the series is not about them, it's actually all about you. What can we learn from what they do? And I've done a series like this for the last 6 or 7 years on radio, it might even be 8, I don't even know how long we've been doing it every week. The lessons from the headlines, and so I'm bringing it to YouTube and going to do more your life lessons because that's what I teach. So this video we are going to unpack Ellen DeGeneres' apology, but not from the perspective of picking on Ellen or did she do it right or did she do it wrong, although I will at the very end tell you what I think she could have done better. But from the perspective of you and your life and what can we learn from what's going on in the headlines. All right, so let's dive in to Ellen DeGeneres' apology. We'll watch together.
Oh boy, welcome to season 18 of the Ellen DeGeneres Show. If you're watching because you love me, thank you. If you're watching because you don't love me, welcome.
Okay, so probably my most favorite line of the entire apology. You know, the reality is in life there are people who love you and people who hate you. And I think for us on the sidelines, it's easy to think that the stars have it easy. I think they actually have it a lot of haters. So if you are experiencing haters, you know, you can take a cue out of Ellen's book, which is embrace them, right? So she's like, welcome. But let's keep going. There's deeper stuff in here.
Let's get to it. As you may have heard, this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show.
Let's talk about you and if you work in a toxic work environment. I think one of the most frustrating things, and I mean, I've been a coach and a speaker, author for, coming up on 14 years in business. And with toxic work environments, it generally doesn't change. Right? And so what it takes is something big like this. So we look at somebody like Ellen, well, it took like this huge media swell for people to actually take notice or for apparently her to even know it was happening. And so two sides of this. Number one, if you are in a toxic work environment, very rarely does it ever change without, number one, top level awareness and buy-in. And second of all, with like a long, big, structured approach to figuring out how to change it and where things are going off the rail. And it can be so unhealthy to be in a toxic work environment. So if you are, you either have to get really, really good at blocking out that toxicity and not allowing yourself to go into the rabbit hole of really being in that drama that causes the toxicity, or you need to change your job. Now do that responsibly, but you can't expect something to change unless there's a huge uptick or buy-in from the top level. Okay, let's keep going.
And then there was an investigation. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected.
Now, for the purposes of this video, let's imagine that you have to apologize to someone. And, you know, one of the biggest things that when we do something wrong, the instinct is to want to save face and to, you know, sort of downplay what happened or whatever. And, you know, we'll get into that in a little bit more. But, you know, it's so important to accept responsibility. And the key, though, is because I was listening to this and I'm like, okay, but where's the but? Right? Because a lot of times when people will say, okay, I totally accept responsibility. I'm sorry this happened, but insert excuse here. Now, she didn't actually do that, but she took responsibility. And I think that that's good. She just didn't quite go far enough.
I know that I'm in a position of privilege and power, and I realize that with that comes responsibility, and I take responsibility for what happens at my show.
With power, absolutely comes responsibility, but truthfully, we all have responsibility. But let's talk to the leaders who are watching, the executives who are completely blinded by the fact that there is toxicity going on in their workplace. And, you know, I hope that the Ellen show and what's happened is going to be an eye-opener for you to actually question and take the blinders off and figure out, like, hey, the company I own, is it toxic? Am I enabling this? Because the only way that you are not going to see what's happening underneath you, like if you think about a hierarchical structure, the only way you're not going to see that toxicity is if you're completely oblivious, and maybe too just busy to care, which is quite plausible. Sorry, not too busy to care, too busy to see it. Or second of all, if you don't actually care and you're just more focused on the bottom line and getting things done. And so I'm going to challenge you, if you are a leader or if you have anybody in your team or even in your family or your friend circle, like if there's toxicity, if there's bullying behavior going on, then you need to take your blinders off, check it out, and accept it. Because you can't accept responsibility if you ignored it all, right? So actually you have to accept responsibility for ignoring the reality of what's happening for the people who are in your area of care. Let's keep going.
This is the Ellen DeGeneres Show. I am Ellen DeGeneres. My name is there. My name is there. My name is on underwear.
I don't have any on that underwear. Just saying.
We have had a lot of conversations over the last few weeks about the show, our workplace, and what we want for the future.
Okay, so how many times have you been in a situation and you have lots of conversation about it, but what changes? Right? So conversation, and then she's going to follow it up with...
We have made the necessary changes, and today we are starting a new chapter.
Okay, I love this. Starting a new chapter. I love it because there's such optimism in it, and I love to be optimistic. The thing is that when you have a shift in culture or, even in your own life, this, right? It doesn't just happen like that. You don't have a conversation or many, and then all of a sudden things are better. It takes a lot more. And if there have been patterns that have been ingrained in your life or in a business's life, like the patterns will continue to repeat themselves unless there's a lot of really deep interruption of pattern and a way to actually catch what starts to happen. Okay? Let's keep going because they say they're going to do it right.
There were also articles in the press and on social media that said that I am not who I appear to be on TV because I became known as the Be Kind lady.
I don't think the issue is that you're not the person you are on camera. I think the reality is we all have different parts of ourselves. And she addresses this a little bit, but let's talk about you, because I actually think not accepting the fact that we have all of these different emotions, all of these different times in our life, where we show up differently, but we can still be we can still be angry and be authentic to our core values, right? We can still, I think that's where the alignment is off, because people thought her core value was kindness, and a core value should technically run throughout your day. And every now and again, maybe it might get off kilter and you have a bad day and you apologize and you make amends and then you take action to fix it. But I think that maybe is why this has been such a bone of contention for people. But like, if we look at us, we all have different times. Like, like the times when you're sitting around watching YouTube or Netflix or, Crave or having a movie marathon or doing something and you're like, oh, I just don't want to think this weekend. Or there are times when you're, devastated about something and emotional and yesterday you were like totally fine. Like, that's part of the human experience. And I think that imposter syndrome or feeling less than comes when we don't allow ourselves the various elements of who we are, and then we judge other people accordingly, which is what's happened with Ellen.
And here's how that happened. I started saying be kind to one another after a young man named Tyler Clemente took his own life after being bullied for being gay. I thought the world needed more kindness, and it was a reminder that we all needed that. And I think we need it more than ever right now.
The world does need more kindness. Let's be honest.
Being known as the Be Kind lady is a tricky position to be in. So let me give you some advice out there. If anybody's thinking of changing their title or giving yourself a nickname, do not go with the Be Kind lady. Don't do it.
So what she's talking about here is a personal brand. Now, you may have heard that word before in other videos or through your personal development journey. And that word is like, McDonald's. You think of McDonald's, you automatically think of the golden arches and the Big Mac and the fries or whatever it is you think of. That's what a brand is. And so for Ellen, her brand is Be Kind. Now, the thing about a brand is that once you're really well known for something, it's very hard for people to see you as anything else. But let's talk about your brand. How do you take the lessons from the big companies like, McDonald's and create a brand for yourself? So when it comes to crafting your personal brand, there are 3 key elements that you want to consider. What do people hear from me? So how are you showing up on social media? How are you showing up in videos? Are you speaking up in, the office, in the boardroom? Are you quiet in the background? All of that is part of your brand. So that's what do people hear. Then what do people see? So are you well put together? Are you, what are your clothes? What's your grooming? What's your hair? What's your actions, your pace, your voice, your tone, all of that. There are other videos on my channel in the archive somewhere about personal branding, and I will be sure to put up some more in the coming weeks. Then you want to look at what do people, and this is the most important, it's the old Maya Angelou quote, people will forget what you said, they will never forget how you made them feel. So that's the third piece about your brand. So you can look to the nines and you can say all the right things, but if people feel like you're not authentic or you are mean to them or that you're aloof or rude, like whatever they feel, that's what matters. So you always want to be thinking of your personal brand from a perspective of what do people see, what do people feel, and what do people hear, and then really consider that and choose what do you want people to have, what is the experience you want people to have, and then align your actions to get closer to that.
The truth is, I am that person that you see on TV. I am also a lot of other things. Sometimes I get sad, I get mad, I get anxious, I get frustrated, I get impatient.
So this is actually one of my favorite things to talk about with audiences and when I'm coaching my clients, because I think I used to feel like if I wasn't happy every day, right, or fully productive, then I had failed. And I think what I came to realize is that neutral is our neutral emotion, not happiness. And so what I mean by that is we have to have happiness. In order to have happiness, we have to be able to feel sadness. Because without sadness, we don't actually know what happiness is, right? And so we have to have all sides of the spectrum. And so when, you're thinking about your emotions, a lot of times we try to we don't like it, the negative stuff. So we try to be happy up here, but we're actually hurting our happiness by not being able to embrace and feel the sadness as well.
And I am working on all of that. I am a work in progress. And I'm especially working on the impatience thing and it's not going well because it's not happening fast enough. I will tell you that.
So, a couple things. Number one, I get this. Who else is with me? Nothing ever happens fast enough. And we need to have patience and trust that things are unfolding as they should. Now, when it comes to patience, what's something you can do? So there's the immediate impatience. So come on, hurry up, do this or do that. And I'm going to give you the piece of advice that I loathe. Oh, I don't like it because it just feels so corny, but I'm going to say it anyway. You can breathe, right? If somebody's really impatient. So I do this a lot with, maybe helping somebody with something with the computer. And it's like, okay, push this, do this, just get out of the way. I'll do it, which is not helpful. But that's very being impatient. So now, since I've recognized that, I will just recognize that I'm waiting for it and I'm being impatient. And then I will just go in and breathe and maybe even take a count of 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 if it takes a long time. and then keep going. But patience on a bigger level. So if you're waiting for, that potential client to call you back, or a job opportunity to come in, or for you to lose some weight, or whatever the case whatever might be on your mind. So the only way I've figured out how, when you have a tendency for impatience, is to take action on the things you can do today, rather than trying to focus on the big that are going to get you closer. So even if this big thing that you're waiting for doesn't come to fruition, what can you do in the meantime that can actually help you get closer?
This is me, and my intention is to always be the best person I can be. And if I've ever let someone down, if I've ever hurt their feelings, I am so sorry for that. If that's ever the case.
Okay, so here's where I think Ellen could have done better. The word if is kind of funny, because in this case, and if you were trying to apologize to someone else, if I did this and it made you feel this way, then I'm sorry, is less powerful than when I failed to do this, or when I did this and you made it, that, because that's actually accepting responsibility. Remember at the beginning? That's accepting responsibility. So when you use the word if, you leave room for interpretation.
I have let myself down, and I've hurt myself as well, because I always try to grow as a person. I look at everything that comes into my life as an opportunity to learn.
And the truth is that whenever we screw up, right? Yes, it hurts somebody else and that's awful. But you know what it's like when you've done something and you're ruminating about it and you can't sleep at night and you've got that, why did I do that? And, we all screw up. And, how grateful are you and I that we don't screw up in public? Like, we might screw up a little bit in public, like maybe in, your business, or with a client, or, with your family, or on a smaller scale, or maybe you're like, an influencer online and you've got 40,000 people. That's a lot different than screwing up in front of millions. So how grateful are we? But the reality is we all screw up. So my question is, how do you become self-aware enough that you are continually screwing up, like an ongoing pattern, so that you can interrupt it? If you know that you have a pattern for doing something, like maybe being disrespectful or aloof or rude, or, when you're not in your optimal state. And let's say you have a tendency to do that and you're aware of it, but you don't actually take action. And 10 years from now, you're still doing the exact same thing. Like, that's on you, because there are ways to continually grow and get better.
I got into this business to make people laugh and feel good. That's my favorite thing to do. That and Jenga.
What I find really interesting about that is all of us have something that we're really great at. So and that we love to do. So you think about it, like there are certain days, if you maybe talk to a friend, or you sing, or you, for me, it's writing or creating content and ideas, that makes my day. Like that hour that I'm writing is like my favorite hour of the day, in terms of it, like time just flies by, but at the same time I'm so immersed in it, and like that's when you're in flow. And being in flow, we can't be in flow. I mean, some people think you can. I don't think you can. We can't be in flow 24 hours a day. And so imagine if you had something when you had to be on because people were counting on you. Say you have a presentation or a big sales call or an assignment due. When you show up and you do that, you forget about everything else going on in your life, right? So it's like Ellen has the fortune of 1 hour a day where she is in her sweet spot, in her flow. And that's when she's on camera. So we don't see her sad, we don't see her mad, we don't see her all those other things, bullying anybody when she's in flow, because that's not what flow is. Flow is when you're at your optimal state. Your best shows up when you're in flow. But again, we can't be in flow 24 hours a day. So that goes back to the beginning where we're saying you need to have all sides of you. And further to that, I would say if you know what your flow state is, I hope you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep trying, keep looking, keep searching, because it's out there for you to have something to do that makes you feel great. Then what you want to do is add it in to your calendar as many times as you can a week, or once a day. Because if you're feeling off, if you're feeling like you're not in flow, then you want to go to that thing, right? Like I know that if I'm not feeling at my optimal self, the best thing I can do is open up my laptop and start typing an article. Like I know that. And so you want to be aware of what will work for you to help you get into your state so that you can have an hour a day where you're at your best, just like Ellen has always done on her show.
I love that game. And now I am a boss of 270 people. 270 people who help make this show what it is. 270 people who...
So sometimes when you have a talent, you end up with this accidental leadership position that you're actually not qualified for, or actually is not really what you set out to do. And, Ellen's admitting the fact that she was a comedian. She loves making people laugh. That's great. That's her flow state. The leading of people is a very different skill set. And, I don't know what her audience, like her makeup is for that. But for you, if it's not one of your skills, then you want to be sure that you surround yourself with people who are excellent at that. So you're not doing something outside of your comfort zone or your flow state.
People who I am so grateful for. All I want is for every single one of them to be happy and to be proud to work here. This has been a horrible summer for people all around the world.
Really, if you look at the overall that the show has done good, the challenges, you can do good, great work, and then you have this big black mark that can, ruin everything, or overshadow everything. I don't think it does. I don't think it takes away from what the good stuff was. So, but in your life, when you think about your brand and your reputation, and when you're not in your flow state, you really want to recognize that if you make a big mistake and you're not able to counteract it, it can be a cloud, right, over you. I remember when I used to speak a lot about building your personal brand. And, I would tell this story about this advisor who was really successful and great, but then like one night she got really drunk at the bar and was like dancing, and it wasn't a dance bar, on the bar, and kind of like, stripping, not totally down, but like enough that they took her off the bar. But like Monday morning, she had a meeting with a prospect, and she walked into that boardroom and they were like, the two guys were like, no, we're not working with you. We don't trust you. And yet she'd done years of, building a reputation and was really well and got to the meeting, but then a weekend messed it all up, right? And it really shifted her trajectory, and she got a bit of a reputation. Obviously, there were other things going on as well, but it can take one little thing. And if it's a constant thing that you just kept going, then it can hurt your credibility for sure.
So welcome to season 18 of The Ellen Show. I am so glad that you're here. I want to start this new season by saying hello to my friend Twitch.
And so this is, the true resilience. Can you combat, maybe that's the wrong word. Can you overcome and win people's hearts back? Or is the trust link broken enough? And I think that will all come down to what steps have they taken to ensure that they don't continue to have the same culture. Because remember earlier I said you can think about this, like you can talk about, but if you don't actually change anything or put systems in place to interrupt those patterns and to create a new pattern, then it's going to go back to the way it used to be. And that I think is the biggest risk when it comes to change, is you have these great ideas, you implement them, and then 3 weeks later, it's easier to go back to routine and nothing really changes. So there we go, the first episode of Life Lessons from the Headlines, thanks to the stars. If there's another interview or a story or a movie or something that you want me to unpack, by all means, let me know in the comments below. And if you found this helpful, please share, subscribe, all of that great stuff, because there's a lot more content coming your way. Again, I'm Allison Graham. Loved having you here.